What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and today I've got another book review for you, and I'm going to be talking about The Garden of Bewitchment by Cavendish. I received this as an ARC through NetGalley. It's put out by Flame Tree Press, and the release date's just in a day or two. It comes out on February 20th. I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis real quick, and then I'll get into my thoughts and everything about the book. In 1893, Evelyn and Claire leave their home in a Yorkshire town for life in a rural retreat on their beloved moors. But when a strange toy garden mysteriously appears, a chain of increasingly terrifying events is unleashed. Neighbor Matthew Dixon befriends Evelyn, but seems to have more than one secret to hide. Then the horror really begins. The Garden of Bewitchment is all too real, and something is threatening the lives and sanity of the women. Evelyn no longer knows who or what to believe, and time is running out. So as it says there, this story takes place in the very late 1800s, out on the moors, so it takes place in Europe. I really loved the setting and the time frame for this. I love historical fiction books, so being set in the late 1800s, it's a time frame I really enjoy reading about, and like it says, it's on the moors, so I really enjoy the setting. Cavendish did a great job of building up the atmosphere. They're sort of isolated. The two sisters, Evelyn and Claire, are sort of isolated out on these moors. There's a few cottages that they live in, and there's a small town a couple miles away from them. But they basically can walk out their back door and go up the walkway, and they're out on these moors. It's always raining. It's always sort of overcast and foggy. So it's a really great, creepy, atmospheric setting for a story like this. We get into it, and the girls, they're moving out of their house. They live in a bigger city at the beginning of the book, and they're wanting to get out of their house because their father is sort of looked down upon for what he has done in the past, giving away all his money to two daughters who are at the age now where they should already be wed. So they're sort of spinsters now as they're looked on by the public. So they're just wanting to get away basically from prying eyes and sort of have a peaceful, private rest of their lives where they can do what they want to. They are aspiring authors. They're inspired a lot by the Bronte family. I think I'm saying that right. Who is a real life family. I know The Wuthering Heights was one of the novels that one of the sisters put out, I believe. So they're inspired by them. They're writing their own sort of novels based on what the Bronte family did. So they're just wanting to get out of the bigger city, out to sort of the outskirts, and have a peaceful, private life where people aren't always bothering them, looking at them strange because they're identical twins and that kind of thing. Evelyn is more the outgoing type. Her appearance is always nice. Her hair is always done right. Her clothes aren't wrinkled or anything. And then Claire is the exact opposite. She always seems to be a mess. Her room's always untidy. Regardless of what she does to her hair seems to be all over the place. So they're identical twins, but they seem to sort of be polar opposites of each other. And I really enjoyed the characters in the book. I think Cavendish did a great job of writing the characters, making them feel believable, giving them a good arc. And I really enjoyed the interactions between the two sisters, Evelyn and Claire. They get along pretty good, but they do sort of fight and bicker some, and that's based on their differences. One is very uptight and clean and tidy, and the other one's, like I said, the opposite. And they sort of clash somewhat on the books of the writing. They're writing sort of a shared universe, writing these stories together. And one will give their opinion on how it should go, and the other one will disagree and give their opinion. So there is some infighting, which I really liked, because it builds up to, even though they do fight a lot, it builds up to how much they do care for each other when the Garden of Bewitchment starts to come into play. and these sort of, you know, crazy things start to happen that should not be capable of happening. The Garden of Bewitchment, it's like a toy, but it's more, instead of a game, it's more of like a terrain setup. It has pieces in it, and there's like a mansion and a garden, and you know, within the garden there's all these different little trees and flowers and butterflies and things, and you basically just set it up. They're cardboard pieces, you set it up. But there's something off and odd about it. It just sort of appears out of nowhere when these sisters buy this new cottage. They just sort of come upon it in their room, and Claire puts it together, and it's very detailed. Once she builds the house part, she's able to look through the windows, and there's little cardboard characters inside, and then, you know, she looks and one seems to have moved or changed position. There's a piano in there, and you seem to be able to hear the music. So it's very odd and eerie and creepy and sort of sinister, and it slowly starts to, things slowly start to escalate with the happenings going on around this toy, the Garden of Bewitchment. As it said in the synopsis, there is a neighbor that lives close by them. His name is Matthew Dixon. I like how their stories, Matthew's and the two sisters, their stories and histories sort of intertwine, all relating to the Garden of Bewitchment itself. And I really liked the escalation of what was happening with the Garden of Bewitchment. You know, we're not sure if what's going on is actually happening. We're not sure, and the characters aren't sure either of what's going on, if what they're seeing is actually real. Are they just, are they daydreaming? Are they hallucinating? Are they hauntings? Are they ghosts? We're not really sure what is going on. And Catherine Cavendish does a great job of sort of keeping us off balance, you know, not really letting us know what is going on. You know, if these are physical things that they're seeing, is everyone crazy and they're just hallucinating? Are there ghosts? We're not really sure. So I did like the story. There was a bit of, I didn't like the ending too much. I felt like, well, leading up to the ending, excuse me, there is sort of a reveal at the end that I feel that I was able to guess, you know, pretty early on, like 100 pages in or so. There was a lot of hints as to what this reveal was going to be. I felt there could have been a little bit more subtlety with that. At first I thought I would guess it, and you know, it wouldn't be real, sort of be a red herring, if you will, because it just kept sort of giving these hints as to what was going to happen. I was like, well, maybe she's leading me the wrong way just to set me up for something different. But it did turn out the way I thought. So maybe within the story there could have been a few less hints pointing out what the reveal sort of was at the end. That revelation was less impactful for me since I had already kind of guessed what was coming. And then as the story goes on, there's small clues here and there about the Garden of Bewitchment, where it came from, what its purpose is. But then we get towards the end, and it feels like we're running out of time, and there's a lot of info dumped at the end about the history and what all is going on with the actual Garden of Bewitchment. I feel like that was sort of a pacing issue that could have been spaced out more throughout the book, instead of a lot of that info coming in within the last chapter or two. And then at the end, there was a character that was introduced to the story who it was confusing how they were involved and what was really going on with them. That part didn't play out very well. But as far as the backstory and the history of the Garden of Bewitchment itself, what all was actually going on, I did like that. I just didn't like how it was all sort of crammed in at the very end. It would have been nicer if it was spaced out more. Some of the earlier parts are a bit slow. Not that it's bad or anything, it's just a bit slow. But those could have, I guess, been sped up some if some of that information at the end would have been parceled out more throughout the story. But overall, I did enjoy the story. It's very atmospheric. It has some creepy scenes, some sort of Alice in Wonderland type scenes where you're not really sure, like I said, if it's real. Are they just imagining this? Are they hallucinating? Are they crazy? But I enjoyed it overall. I enjoyed the setting a lot. The moors, with it raining all the time, and it's foggy, and the time frame, the late 1800s, I enjoyed that as well. Overall, I gave this 3 stars. It was a good story, but it did have a few issues for me. Some pacing issues, a reveal that was sort of hinted at, maybe too much. But overall, it is a good story. It's a haunted house story, sort of, but has a nice twist on the haunted house story. Instead of it being a normal size house, it's this house that's part of this toy, this game, and I really like that. But that's all I have to say about it. Again, this is The Garden of Bewitchment by Catherine Cavendish from Flame Tree Press. It comes out on February 20th. So if you have read The Garden of Bewitchment, I'd like to know your thoughts about it down in the comments section. If you liked it, didn't like it, whatever it may be. This is the first Catherine Cavendish book that I have read, but I did enjoy her writing, so I would like to read more of her stuff. So if you have any recommendations for what I should read of hers next, put that down in the comments. But that's all I have for y'all today. So thanks for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.